Today's Monster Through the Ages video is going to be about ogres. Their entire theory throughout all the editions has pretty much stayed the same, with it being a really big dude hitting you with a really big club. Generally used as an enemy combatant for mid-level characters, I would say. They can actually be pretty deadly to low-level characters, especially one-on-one. In this video, I'm going to go through the Rules Cyclopedia version, or the BECMI version, the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, the second edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, third editions, and fifth editions. Once again, I'm not going to go over fourth editions, and I'm also not going to go over the original D&D, like the white box set, because I frankly have no experience with either of those two. There are certain things that every edition agrees on. Every edition pretty much agrees that ogres are over 9 feet tall, are a common occurrence on pretty much any sort of terrain, and with the exception of 5th edition, no ogre has any sort of special vision, which means only the 5th edition monster has dark vision, while every other edition has basic line of sight like the rest of us. We're going to go ahead and start off with the BECMI/Rules Cyclopedia version of the Ogre. This version of the Ogre has an armor class of 5, which is the 5th edition equivalent of about armor class 15. Has 1 attack, and has damage by weapon plus 2. I usually change this to like 1d10 plus 2, because the idea that an Ogre's Club does 1d4 just like everybody else's doesn't make any sense to me. It has a THAC0 of 15. It saves as a fighter 4. It's got a movement of 30 feet, and its HP can range from 5 to 33. For descriptive text, the Rules Cyclopedia has that ogres are huge, fearsome, human-like creatures, usually 8 to 10 feet tall. They wear animal skins for clothes and often live in caves. They are very primitive and greedy. They hunt animals when they have to, but are just as content to ambush travelers or bully them into surrendering food and money instead. When encountered outside their lair, a group of ogres will be carrying 1d6 times 100 GP in large sacks. Ogres hate Neanderthals and will attack them on sight. Ogres have no special combat tactics. When inclined to fight, they will beat their prey with large clubs until it stops moving, or the ogres fail a morale check and flee. Ogres of greater than normal intelligence can be spellcasters. There's no ogre magi in this edition, so you have to use the Wicca/Shaman rules that are found inside the Rules Cyclopedia to create one. The Advanced Dungeons & Dragons version of the Ogre is pretty much the same, but there are a few changes. It's got an armor class of 5, it's got 1 attack, it only does 1d10's worth of damage. It's got a THAC0 of 15, it saves as a fighter 5, its movement is 9 inches, and its HP values range from 5 to 33. The biggest changes, or actually the only changes, is the fact that it does not have a plus 2 to damage like the BECMI/Rules Cyclopedia version, and it saves as a fighter 5, which is 1 level better than the previous version. For descriptive text found in the original monster manual, it says that ogres can be found in virtually any terrain, including subterranean places. They are ugly-tempered and voracious. Ogres are also fond of treasure, and they will sometimes be found serving as mercenaries in the ranks of orc tribes or evil clerics, or joining with gnolls for a profitable raid. Ogres mingle freely with trolls and some giants, and they are at times enslaved by certain demons. If 11 or more ogres are encountered, there will be one who is a leader. If 16 or more are encountered, there will be 2 such leaders plus 1 additional ogre, a chieftain. The hide of ogres varies from dull blackish brown to deadly yellow. Rare specimens are a sickly violet in color. Their warty bumps are often of different color, or at least darker than their hides. Hair is blackish blue to dull dark green. Eyes are purple with white pupils. Teeth are black or orange, as are their talons. Ogres wear any sort of skins or furs. They care for their arms and armor reasonably well, and the lifespan of an ogre is not less than 90 years. The second edition version, or the advanced second edition version of the Ogre, is still a little bit more different. It's got an armor class of 5. It has 1 attack. It does damage 1d10 plus 2, Or, if wielding a weapon, it uses the standard weapon stats, but plus 6. It's got a THAC0 of 17, it saves as a fighter 5, its movement is 9 inches, and it's got an HP value of 5 to 33. As can be usually found to be true, the second edition monster manual actually contains a lot of information on ogres and their habitats. The ogres are big, ugly, greedy humanoids that live by ambushes, raids, and theft. Ill-tempered and nasty, these monsters are often found serving as mercenaries in the ranks of orc tribes, evil clerics, or gnolls. They mingle freely with giants and trolls, which this is almost a word-for-word replay of the first edition version. Adult ogres stand between 9 to 10 feet tall and weigh 300 to 350 pounds. Their skin colors range from a dead yellow to a dull black-brown and rarely to a sickly violet. Their warty bumps are often of a different color, or at least darker than their hides. Their eyes are purple with white pupils. Teeth and talons are orange or black. Ogres have long, greasy hair of blackish blue to dull, dark green. Their odor is repellent, reminiscent of curdled milk. Dressing in poorly cured furs and animal hides, they care for their weapons and armor only reasonably well. It is common for ogres to speak orc, troll, stone giant, and gnoll, as well as their own guttural language. A typical ogre's lifespan is 90 years. Ogre tribes are found anywhere from deep caverns to mountaintops. Tribes have 16 to 20 males, 2 to 12 females, and 2 to 8 young. Shamans, if present, will be of 3rd level, and have access to the spears of combat, divination, healing, protection, and sun. It says in parentheses beside it, darkness only, which seems like the complete opposite of sun, but so be it. Ogres live by raiding and scavenging, and they will eat anything. Their fondness for elf, dwarf, and halfling flesh means there is only a 10% chance that these will be found as slaves or prisoners. There is a 30% chance that the ogre lair will include 2 to 8 slaves. Captured prisoners are always kept as slaves, 25%, or food, 75%. Extremely avaricious, ogres squabble over treasure and cannot be trusted even by their own kind. So pretty much the first edition version of the ogre is very similar to the second edition version. Alright, onwards to 3rd edition, things get a lot more different here. A 3rd edition ogre has an AC of 16, which is the advanced version of AC 4. It does 2d6 plus 7 points of damage, and it has a plus 8 to hit, which is the equivalent of THAC0 12. It's got a movement of 30 feet, and its HP values range from 12 to 40. It has 4 d8 hit dice plus 8. For descriptive text, the book has it that ogres are big, ugly, greedy creatures that live by raiding and scavenging. They join other monsters to prey on the weak and associate freely with ogre mages, giants, and trolls. Lazy and bad-tempered, ogres solve problems by smashing them. What they can't smash, they either ignore or flee. Dwelling in small tribal groups, ogres occupy any convenient location and eat nearly anything they can catch, steal, or slay. Ogres sometimes accept mercenary service with other evil humanoids, including humans. Adult ogres stand between 9 to 10 feet tall and weigh between 300 to 350 pounds. Their skin color ranges from dull yellow to dull brown. Their thick hides are often covered in dark, warty bumps, and their hair is long, unkempt, and greasy. Their clothing consists of poorly cured furs and hides, which add to their naturally repellent odor. Ogres speak giant, and those specimens who boast intelligence scores of at least 10 also speak common. I keep on messing up when I'm saying poorly cured furs. I don't know why, but it keeps happening. And the last and final edition I'm going to go over is the 5th edition version of the ogre. This one also has a large amount of changes. This one has an armor class of 11, which is a huge decrease from all the previous editions. It's got 1 attack. It deals 2d8 plus 4 points of damage. It's got a plus 6 to hit. It's got a movement of 40 feet. And its HP can range from 28 to 91, or 7d10 plus 21. Of note, this version of the ogre has dark vision, almost like every other monster. The monster manual has it that ogres are hulking giants notorious for their quick tempers. When its rage is incited, an ogre lashes out in a frustrated tantrum until it runs out of objects or creatures to smash. Ogres are as lazy of mind as they are strong of body. They live by raiding, scavenging, and killing for food and pleasure. The average adult specimen stands between 9 and 10 feet tall and weighs close to 1,000 pounds. Well, that's a huge change from 300 to 350 pounds. Ogres are notorious for their quick tempers, which flare at the smallest perceived offense. Insults and name-calling can rouse an ogre's wrath in an instant, as can stealing from it, bumping, jabbing, or prodding it, laughing, making faces, or simply looking at it the wrong way. When its rage is incited, an ogre lashes out in frustrated tantrum until it runs out of objects or creatures to smash. Ogres eat almost anything, but they especially enjoy the taste of dwarves, halflings, and elves. When they can, they combine dinner with pleasure, chasing scurrying victims around before eating them raw. If enough of its victim remains after the ogre has gorged itself, it might make a loincloth from its quarry's skin and a necklace from its leftover bones. This macabre crafting is the height of ogre culture. An ogre's eyes glitter with avarice when it sees the possessions of others. Ogres carry rough sacks on their raids, which they fill with fabulous treasures taken from their victims. This might include a collection of battered helmets, a moldy wheel of cheese, a rough patch of animal fur fastened like a cloak, or a squealing, mud-spattered pig. Ogres also delight in the gleam of gold and silver, and they will fight one another over small handfuls of coins. Smarter creatures can earn an ogre's trust by offering it gold or weapon forged for a creature of its size. Legendary stupidity. A few ogres can count to 10, even with their fingers in front of them. Most speak only a rudimentary form of giant and know a smattering of common words. Ogres believe what they are told and are easy to fool or confuse, but they break things they don't understand. Silver-tongued tricksters who test their talents on these savages typically end up eating their eloquent words, and then being eaten in turn. Ogres clothe themselves in animal pelts and uproot trees for use as crude tools and weapons. They create stone-tipped javelins for hunting. When they establish lairs, they settle near the rural edges of civilized lands, taking advantage of poorly protected livestock, undefended larders, and unwary farmers. An ogre sleeps in caves, animal dens, or under trees until it finds a cabin or isolated farmhouse, whereupon it kills the inhabitants and lairs there. Whenever it is bored or hungry, an ogre ventures out from its lair, attacking anything that crosses its path. Only after an ogre has depleted an area of food does it move on. Ogres sometimes band together in small nomadic groups, but they lack a true sense of tribalism. When bands of ogres meet, one might attempt to capture the members of the other group to increase its numbers. However, ogre bands are just as likely to trade members freely, especially if the welcoming band is temporarily flush with food and weapons. Whenever possible, ogres gang up on other monsters to bully or prey on creatures weaker than themselves. They associate freely with goblinoids, orcs, and trolls, and practically worship giants. In the giant's complex social structure, known as the Ordning, ogres rank beneath the lowest giants in status. As a result, an ogre will do nearly anything a giant asks. The 5th edition version of the ogre appears to have gotten fatter and dumber, if it was possible, than the other versions of ogres. They also appear to be more solitary than tribal than previous editions. There are variations of the ogre that is common across all the editions, well, most of the editions. The first 2 advanced versions have marrows that are apparently water-bound versions of ogres. They have a swim speed, but other than that, their characteristics are pretty much exactly the same. And the ogre mage, also known as the Oni in 5th edition, is common across all of them except for the BECMI version, I believe. The Rules Cyclopedia doesn't even have an entry for Oni, so you would have to use the Shaman and Wicca sections of that book to create an ogre magi, or mage. The ogre in general is a pretty deadly encounter for characters between levels 1 through 3, but once they start hitting like 7 or 8, it starts becoming a less dangerous encounter. Or at least for 5th edition, that is definitely true. I've seen a group of level 7 players completely wipe out 6 or 7 ogres at once. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps someone out there. If you guys have any other interesting experiences with using ogres in your games, go ahead and add it into the comments below. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.